In this video, we will try to apply what we have learned into practice, but first, let us recall what we have learned. You should be able to apply the key principles of visual perception, choose appropriate visuals, and eliminate clutters. Think like a designer and consider the context in order to create a compelling and precise data story. For this exercise, we will use our call center dataset. I have already pre-processed this file. Lookups have been made and the dates have been fixed. There are also newly added columns here. Okay, so for this task, the first question was show volume trend and give some insights. So the first question that we may want to ask is, why are we doing this? Who will benefit from this? Who are our audience, right? Let's say you found out that this will be used by workforce management, and the goal is to improve customer satisfaction. I have tried to explore the average volume per day. So this is the pivot table for our days of the month, and then the average volume of calls, and this is our chart. In this chart, it is clearly seen that there is kind of a cyclical pattern here, but it's not clear which days. It's we have days with relatively high volume here, right? So just to be just to have a clear picture of how it looks like, I added a new metric here, which is the day of the week. So um, visualizing the chart in weeks instead of days. And here, yes, it is seen indeed that in Fridays and Saturdays, we have relatively higher volume. And as you can see here, another line was added, which is the queue time, right? Because this is happening in any business operations that when you have um, higher number of transactions, then the queue time will be longer. So it is just describing what is happening in our data here. So this is a combination chart. We have a line for the average queue time per day as well, day of the week as well here. This is actually a good visual already because we have managed to describe um, the trend per day, right, in average for the entire data set. Although uh, it's a little bit cluttered still, so we have created another chart here, just improving the original one that we have created here. So this is the improved version, and the insight is again also describing the statistics. So the average volume for Fridays and Saturdays is 32% higher than the average volume of the other days, stretching the average waiting time to 1 minute or 20 seconds longer than the average. So here we are trying to use the principles of visual perception that we have learned, um, putting the labels closer to the line and the bars, and using colors for the things that we want to highlight. If you will notice, even on the insides, the colors of some important uh, metrics inside your text is also the same as the colors of the charts, the lines, and the labels. So the next question can be, where is the customer satisfaction metric in this data story? Because again, the goal is to help improve customer satisfaction. So it will be a little hard to understand if we don't show that metric in our results, right? So we will try to add customer satisfaction, but before that, this is another visualization for the number of transactions or the calls handled and the average queue time, just to prove some inference that the more transactions that we have, the longer the queue time will be. So it is indeed showing the same pattern, right? So per day, this is on day-to-day basis, and just um, show the average number of transactions and the average queue time. Now this is the chart where we have added customer satisfaction. Okay. The reason why we did not include customer satisfaction in the beginning is because we're just trying to check how our data looks like first. Because by industry standards, we know that um, customer satisfaction is affected by um, the average queue time, but the volume, since the first um, question in our task is to show the volume is not necessarily related to customer satisfaction, right? We just have to follow that train of thought first. Like we will show the volume, we will show another metric that is connected to the volume, and try to show that it is indeed related to the volume, and then show another metric, which is the customer satisfaction. So this is our transaction count average, and then this is the queue time or the waiting time, right? And then we have added customer satisfaction here, and this is the chart for that. We can see here that the customer satisfaction on Fridays and Saturdays are relatively lower as well when your queue time is higher. So we can add this to this chart, right? This is the chart with customer satisfaction, and just fix the labels a little bit. And also we have changed the insights because the first one we had here was describing the average waiting time. Now here we are already describing customer satisfaction. So the average volume for Fridays and Saturdays is 32% higher than the average volume of the other days, pulling down the customer satisfaction rating from 6.5 to 7.9 on other days, cooling down the customer satisfaction rating to 6.5 from 7.9 average on other days. So this is the green line for customer satisfaction now, and the average waiting time is here, and the volume is still here. All right. So I think here we have already described what happens in our customer satisfaction, and the volume is also here, which is what is being asked in the beginning, right? But again, we have also learned that if you have some recommendations, try to put it on the onset, right? Because it will be more beneficial to your audience to know what they need to do out of this. So I just also added another thing here that instead of describing our customer satisfaction rating, we can actually tell them something like this. Customers are less satisfied on Fridays and Saturdays. That's a very strong statement. And then you will prove that, or you will back it up with data. With a 32% increase in call volume, here comes the action part. We need to allocate more people during Fridays and Saturdays to handle more calls. Now, this is a different um, kind of data story, because here you are already telling your audience what to do. The first two are okay, but I think the third one will spark more action. After they will see this, of course, it will spark some, discussion on what to do next. And again, that is the goal of why are we doing data story like this. All right, that's about it. Feel free to explore some other metrics if you want to try to use this data set further. You can try other metrics like probably average handling time, although handling time is not necessarily related to customer satisfaction because it still depends on how the call went, right? Or probably you can explore maybe product ID, depending on which type of product the customer is inquiring about or reaching out about. Maybe there would be different stories here. So yeah, you can also explore other metrics like average handling time or product ID and try to apply the principles that we have learned in a different cut of data. And probably can generate more insightful information here. So that's it. It concludes our lesson. Thank you, and I hope you enjoyed learning Excel.